Francis Chan, a man I used to hold in high regard within the Christian faith. He was one of the first, I would say, quote unquote, pastors that I started following back in 2012, which was the year I first got saved. Now, this was back when he was the lead pastor at his Simi Valley church that he founded, actually. And I used to watch tons of his content. He used to have a website. I don't know if it was on Sermon Audio or where it was, but it was just a collection of all his sermons. And, I would be working and I would just download a sermon and just listen to it while I worked. And he was probably one of three pastors that I watched faithfully on a daily basis. Now, I primarily attribute that to me being, at the time, young in the faith and quite immature, but I did enjoy his sermons for a time. But one of the things that was interesting about Francis was that year by year, he began to slowly drift away from the truth. Now, with Francis Chan, his falling away happened gradually. It didn't happen right away. I've heard Paul Washer say before that men don't fall into sin, they slide into it. And that was the case with Francis. As the years went on, I became much more mature in the faith. The more I learned and grew, the less I could stand them, honestly. There's a reason why people who are not theologically sound may be swayed by Francis. And it's because he's not someone that goes deep into the scriptures from a soteriology perspective. His sermons lack doctrine and a true desire to examine the text. His preaching is very secularly watered down and very weak. And this is why so many lost professing believers are drawn to him. Okay, I remember watching him on a Desiring God panel years ago with, I think, John Piper, Matt Chandler, and some others were a part of the panel. And I remember hearing Francis say that he didn't care much for doctrine, that it wasn't his thing per se. And that to me was a major red flag. And this is back when I was still listening to him. So obviously, eventually I got to the point where I had to disregard any of his preaching and him in general. But this morning, I just so happened to think about him. I just so happened to think about Francis because I haven't heard or seen anything of his content in a very long time. And the question I asked myself was, is he still a false teacher? Is he still upholding a strong stance on ecumenicalism? And is he still embracing Catholics? Now, here's what I found.
It's like there's constant new things you feel like you got to keep up with. And then there's new cults and denominations every week. And Mercy and I have been studying, Catholicism I'm interacting, like today I'll be interacting with, a priest later in Phoenix and then a group of nuns the next day. And
This Chan is the greatest Catholic preacher on earth. When I was in that village 2 weeks ago, they don't even have a comprehension of healing. People started coming forward for healing. Every person I touched was healed. This is craziness to me. I'm talking like a little boy and a little girl who were deaf, and she's freaking out.
Brothers and sisters,